Ah, welcome to Life Writing. Welcome to Firedance. This is the Friday, January 24th edition of Firedance. And I would like to introduce, my name is Stephen Barnes. I'm the creator of these technologies. I'm a writer and a father and a martial artist, although I'm starting to morph that into yogi. It was always martial arts with yoga supporting it. I think that I need to shift that until I'm primarily a yogi who also is a martial artist or is a warrior. Just there are some things that make me think that that would be the smartest thing I could do. At any rate, so we're here every week and we're talking about what it is that makes it possible for us to live lives of passion and power and joy, to escape suffering, embrace joy, and be of service. So this is for people who want to be heroes. It's for people who want to get themselves out of suffering, but also to be able to support members of their community. This is, I think, critical. It's especially critical right now. And I always enjoy having these meetings, and I especially enjoy them. That there are times that I can stare at my gorgeous wife without her noticing that I'm staring at her. So, so Tananari, would you introduce yourself and make a few opening comments?
Hi, everybody. Are you spotlighted, honey? Oh, I can never see myself on this laptop for some reason. I'll just assume
Okay,
you all can see me.
I will spotlight you.
Thank you. Just
There you
weird.
go.
So, right, great reminder. I'm back in my office. There's a little bit of an echo because it doesn't have a lot of furniture in here yet, but you may remember we had a flood, not weather related, but we had a flood back in September. And the work just got done so that I could move back into my office a little bit anyway last night. So that feels good. This is where I write ever since my very first apartment. I had two bedrooms, so one of my rooms could be an office. So that it's special to me, and I feel privileged to be able to have it, even though, believe me, when I have to, I can write anywhere. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, thank you. I chose the color. And I guess they thought it was the landlord's choice because they repainted it the exact same color I painted it. I'm like, yay. Um, and I'm just super excited to be here. I love this color. I love this group. Looking forward to tomorrow's Afrofuturism science fiction writing class, which is at 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. Some of you may already be enrolled, but if this is the first time you're hearing about it, come check it out because Steve has been telling me a little bit about what he's planning to teach. And this is the good stuff. This is not what everybody else teaches. And it would really set you on a path, no matter what your background, to write
So one of the
impactful,
things
powerful, speculative fiction and science fiction.
One of the things that I said to Nanariv is that if you're teaching about science fiction, you can teach it from the outside. You can teach it with the image systems and the history and the personalities. But if you're teaching people to write it, you have to start from the inside. What is the thing itself, and how did it develop over the years? And then show how people can, you know, if people come saying that they would like to be the next Octavia Butler, I have to show them, we have to study not what Octavia Butler wrote, but what were the influences that created her in the first place. What is the training? You don't become a Muhammad Ali by looking at Muhammad Ali in the ring. You become a Muhammad Ali by looking at his training, looking at the videos that he watched, looking at his coaching. It's different. So I what I want to do is to create a program for, because we have life writing and we have all these different things that we do. Start with Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell is definitely part of that mix because I believe that Joseph Campbell's model of the hero's journey is simply looking at what the path of life is. It's one way
You
of
know,
looking at the
that's
path of life.
sorry,
No, what?
you know, the hero's journey is going to make an appearance in every writing course we teach. So
That's right. Because it not only covers writing, but it also covers the process of writing and the process of life. And when you have a single structure that can do that, then it's once you've grasped it and integrated it, it becomes easier to have perspective on your life. So if you're interested in it, writerwebinar.com, www.writerwebinar.com. So getting that out of the way, now we can talk about life. And when we do our podcasts, we often talk about what's going on in our lives, uh, especially in terms of career. I think
Oh,
that,
you want to do
go
that
ahead.
here? You want to
Yeah,
start? That's smart.
absolutely.
What's going
Yeah,
on? I
yeah.
could be,
So,
I can almost
yeah,
play the theme song.
yeah. You'd be absolutely welcome to
I
do
think I
that.
can. Hold on, let me try to find it. Stretch it out while I find the theme song for
Yeah.
today.
So, we can go a little bit more into, health and relationships as well as career here, and we're going to. So, this is. I've been thinking through a lot of things that are kind of intense about what happened during the election and what our way forward is.
What
I
election?
will. What election? There you go.
There was an
And
election?
there was
What?
an election. What? Who?
Oh,
What? Who said? You got it for us?
yes. Oh, okay. So everybody, if you like, let's just talk a little bit about a little something. Oh, wait. I have some, a little something I like to call what's going on? All right, so we
Okay.
do that. We do that every podcast. If you listen to our podcast, that's our theme song for our What's Going On segment. And if you don't listen to our podcast now, I guess you're just at church. So,
So, one of the most important things is I mentioned that 4 months ago I injured my hip and it had not been healing. I thought it would just work its way out. I was wrong. Then 3 weeks ago, I realized that I have indeed reached that point where I need to do yoga every day. And since I've been doing that, the pain has continually decreased. It was up around a 4 or 5, at times, and now it's down to between a 0 and a 1 most of the time. And I anticipate that within another couple of weeks, it'll just be 0, and then I'll be in the negatives, which are actually positives in that sense, and I'll be able to start building things strength up. But it literally is a matter of the joints and tendons and ligaments all connecting with each other in the right way. I did something, I think, that changed that alignment. I think it was isometrics. And as soon as I did that, then my joints and tendons and ligaments tried to protect me by forming around them and gripping around them, which ended up actually distorting the skeletal structure more because of referral. I mean, if you damage your hip, you start feeling it in your knee, you start feeling it in your shoulder, with all these bands of muscle that cross around. I tried to use individual stretches to deal with it, and what I realized was that I consider yoga to be the most advanced body mind science that exists, that is available to the general public. I am not smart enough to figure out which moves I need that are specific. What is necessary is to do a series of things, each of which is designed by a genius in the past who spent their entire lifetime studying the human skeletal structure and biotensegrity and things like this. That you do this, and then you do the next thing, and then you do the next thing, in the same way that athletic activity is a storage and release of elastic energy. Health depends upon these elastic energies moving through your body in a particular sequence, a particular time. I can't do it. So I'm using two different forms of yoga. One is the Ashtanga sequence. It's a shortened Ashtanga sequence, which comes out of Krishnamacharya's tradition. And Krishnamacharya is arguably the greatest yogi who ever lived. It's possible. I could make a case for that. The other is Bikram yoga, the hot yoga stuff. And Tananarive and I studied it, so it's something that we can do together. But it's a good basic yoga sequence. It actually works. It's it's so automatic that you can have a bad yoga teacher who can just parrot out the speech that you use, and you'll still get a good class. I mean, literally, you could have a teacher who is totally out of shape, and if they guide you, and we did, and if they guide you through the sequence in the right way, you come out of it thinking, wow, great yoga class. So
And not only that, at a certain point, we started going to the Japanese language class because there were fewer students and it was less sweaty. And didn't understand a word of what she said except hi, but got through it.
that's right. So having two different forms of yoga that I'm working with, one today, the other one tomorrow, the next day, it gives my body, I'd get faster results if I was doing only one of them, but I have to be careful that something going wrong with my hip today is an analog for something going wrong with my shoulder tomorrow, or
Mm,
my lungs, or my heart,
mm,
or my brain. That what I want is to be constantly telling myself, telling my body, this is how I want you to function. That movement and exercise then is not just a matter of stressing your joints and muscles. It's a matter of actually telling yourself, this is how I want to perform. And what I call a perfect template. And when you do that, isn't that very similar to having a role model of a writer you want to write like, or a financier whose suggestions about money you would like to follow. You model them. In this particular case, it's my golden man, my own image of my own perfected self. My golden man is a bear for yoga. I mean, can absolutely kick the butt of the Ashtanga sequence or the Bikram sequence. The person who could do both of those with joy, that's a bad dude. That's a healthy body. So by creating that standard and then seeking to pour myself into that mold, but then not go all the way down that path because I have to pour myself into this other mold too. It's I'm looking at what is the essence of this thing that is. This is one perspective on it. This is another perspective on it. I trust that my unconscious mind will figure out what it is that both of them are doing. Both of them are in some ways doing different things, but in another way, they're doing the same things. So this has been the most important thing for this week, physically. Emotionally, we are we have students, we dealing with our home. We have the repairs that were there that have upset our schedules, and so we've had to try to be very gentle with each other and understand that we're under a lot of stress. Mentally, we're making a lot of career moves and things are happening. Hollywood not functioning in the way that it does means that one entire thread of our income has not collapsed but contracted, so that we have to do other things to keep moving forward. So we're learning new things and doing new things, and you'll be hearing about some of those things later. But
yes, you
what I wanted to
will.
talk to is very interesting, but I actually want to remove the spotlight and have you guys unmute yourselves and say hi. So everybody unmute yourselves and give high fives, say hi, get your energy
Hi
up because you gotta
everyone.
get your
Hello,
energy
everybody.
up.
Always
Hello.
nice
Hello.
to
Ah,
see you all.
yes, there
Hi.
you go. There you
And
go.
hear you.
Oh, I found it. Yay. Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello, hello,
Yay.
hello, hello.
Hello.
Yay.
This is so
Oh,
important.
there we go.
You literally need to start every day getting yourself into the right energy before you leave your bedroom. You need to have, you need to flood yourself with gratitude. Have a sense of what the three most important things you have to do today and that you're going to get done before 1 o'clock. You raise your physical energy. You do something to work with that. You understand that first hour of the day that we focus on here sets the tone for the day. And if you set it up right, all you have to do is track whether or not you did your morning ritual. That's all you have to do. And if you did it, you were going to be in a good place and you were going to get things done. And you can be totally happy with yourself. Even if there's still things to be done, you've taken steps towards towards your goal. So the question of what should that morning ritual be? What do you need to do? You need to do something to address your body, something to address your heart, and something to address your mind, your problem solving for hunting and gathering. The intelligence is problem solving, but hunting and gathering is probably the most important problem that our ancestors faced. Hunting, gathering, warfare, finding mates, basic things like that. So intelligence then is problem solving, but wisdom is solving the right problems. You can take somebody, if you had let's say you're traveling on a train and a train going in the opposite direction, you both pause at a station and you look into the next train, and there is the most gorgeous person you have ever seen in your life. And they look at you and they smile, and it's one of those smiles that says, "Oh my God, we could be." And then the trains take off. I'm going to give you one of two things, and the trains are going to vastly different cities, and you have no idea how often they ride that train or if they will ever ride it again. But you know where the train was going. Let's say that you know it was going to New York City, and you're going to Detroit. I'm going to give you one of two things to find the love of your life. One is the most expensive, fastest car that you could possibly have. Absolutely beautiful. The other is their address. Now, you can take the car and drive to New York and drive around the streets, or you could have their address and get on a bus and get there and walk there. The person who knows what they want is the person who has the address. The person who doesn't know what they want, but they're very flashy and they're very smart, and they got a lot of energy. They're like the one with the car. They will, in essence, drive in circles until they run out of gas. Whereas the person who can walk right up to her or his address, it might take them a few days to get there, but they know they're going to get there. With every step, they're getting a little bit closer. And that's what I want for you, to know where it is that you're going, and then start asking yourself, what kind of person could accomplish this goal? What kind of behavior patterns could accomplish this goal? If it's writing a book, what do I need to do to write a book? I need to write this many pages per day. Okay, if I need to write 1 page a day to finish a book in a year, then all I have to keep track of, because there's research, there's this. But if I know that the primary thing is I need to write 365 pages, if you create a schedule of writing 1 page a day, on average 7 pages a week, you can, every day you can check and see, am I getting closer to it or further away? Am I getting closer to it or further away? There's no delusion about that. You know what it is you're trying to do. This is so incredibly important. When I left my mom's home, the only two things that I had were belief in goal setting and a belief that positive energy and optimism helped you accomplish what it is that you wanted. Everything else I'm teaching are stuff that I learned along the way, but those two things I had. Eventually, going through all these different disciplines, I evolved, life writing and the magic formula. The magic formula is basically what it is that you use your morning ritual to anchor into yourself. But one of the things that I know, like the M in the morning ritual is, map or model. It's map or model, action, massive action every day. Gratitude, making sure that you're in the right emotional mood to do it. Intention, clear goals, crystal clear goals. We just talked about that. And core, it has to align with your core being, who am I? I also think it needs to align with your sense of what is true. What is the world? I have to act in a way that is in alignment both with my nature and with external nature. And if I do that, I'm like a surfer who can ride the wave. I'm not creating the wave, but I know how waves work. Or someone on with a sailboat. The wind may be going against me, but I know how to set my sails to get where I want to go. The magic formula is the best way of looking at this that I've ever seen. A mapper model, action, gratitude, intention, and core. And my belief is that if you will just use this with your morning ritual, you will improve by at least 1% per week, even if you only have a one in each of those categories, as long as you have no zeros. You literally need to, that's the most important thing about it, is that every time I hear somebody talking about how they're depressed or they can't accomplish things, so forth, invariably there's a break in one of those five. There's always a zero in one of those five. It's not that there are not other things, and maybe more important things, but I found this because I myself had a need at the time. And I first realized that when we're not ready to hear something, we will delete it. We will literally not absorb the information. I did that and I was watching myself. I was almost in shock because I realized, oh my God, I've always had a lot of pride in my intelligence and I can't learn this. It was this little book. It was about 90 pages long and I read it two, three times and could not remember anything in it. So the magic formula came out of rereading and rereading and rereading that book, which is called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And what I realized was that there was something I did not want to hear in that book, and it was that gratitude is essential to success. And I was in a situation that I felt for which I felt no gratitude, and I realized that by some really painful irony, for me to get out of the situation, I had to be grateful to be in it. Wow, that was a bad one. But I started looking, I started finding things to be grateful for. At least I'm healthy. I have a roof over my head. My family is safe. My son is able to do this. I'm able to do this. Is the instant I found reasons to be grateful, I started finding ways to get out. As the instant I was grateful to be there, it's like a problem solving thing in my brain kicked in. It was truly disturbing, but it also helped me feel compassion for people who seem to be, that idea about willful ignorance. What in the hell creates willful ignorance? I used to not believe that concept worked. I didn't understand what do you mean by that. Now I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to get it, and I will try to go more deeply into that because very clearly this is something that if we can see it in ourselves, you will start noticing it in other people too. And when you do that, if you understand that what creates that is fear, what I had been afraid of is that if I did not totally fight against my circumstances, I couldn't get out of them. But what I did not see is that the usefulness of a muscle is in its relaxation. If it's relaxed, then you can tense it and change the position of your body. But if it's already tense, you have to relax it first. I was a knotted ball of emotional tension. I literally could not see where I was on the map of my life. I had a commitment. The only thing that I knew that I had to do was to protect my family, even protect them from me, because I was in a very bad place psychologically. So I believe in the magic formula really deeply.
Can I just interject really
Oh,
quickly?
absolutely. I would love for you to, sweetheart.
Because I think I know the period you're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
And just yesterday, Jason was talking about how unflappable you are, right? And he said, I mean, I knew how he felt during that whole situation, but I never really picked up on it. I don't know what he said to you. I said, oh, he said plenty to me. But I just thought you should know that you did hold it together for Jason and for me.
Oh, and for you, because You know perfectly well that there are plenty of people who would have made the mistake of letting that situation damage their marriage.
True, true.
I mean, and what
We
I
never
know for
stopped
a
watching TV together every
that's
night.
right. We never
We
start.
never, yeah, we were,
We never stopped kissing each other. Good night.
yeah,
We never lost our sensuality. We
no,
never lost those things. And I was a mess, but I love
me
you
too.
more.
Ooh.
I love you more than I need to be right. More,
Mm.
and if I can look at the situation and realize that all of us were doing the best we could, then if I don't like the situation, I have to start with the gratitude to have a magnificent woman like you in my life. And this is one of the things that Steve Muhammad really helped with is once he basically quizzed me about where I was, and the reality of it is that you and Jason and I are family, and that is simple. It's a simple truth. There is nothing that I can think that would weaken that would be within the three gates. It wouldn't be the truth. It wouldn't be kind not just to you and Jason, but to myself. That kind to me means get over it, Steve. Get over it and get on with it. What is your commitment here? My
And
commitment is to
that's,
being. Go ahead.
no, well, don't leave us on a cliffhanger.
No, my commitment is to being the best man I can be.
Absolutely.
I promised the way Steve laid it out to me led me to ask him, you're telling me that in this hand is all of my pain and my resentment and my fear. And I can own those things. I've earned those things. I can cling to that. And in this hand are the qualities of mind and heart that that when I walked into your school 30 years ago and said, I want to be a man like you, that those are the things that would make me a man like you, a man that I committed to being. And I can't have both. And he said, yes. And I had to make a decision. Who am I? What is true? I can't do that and listen to my ego. What I have to do is wait until the times when I'm at my healthiest and most balanced, and then find structures and people and mentors. So, okay, this person can help me get a little further. This practice can.
And
And to
it's
come,
true that I am going to have to jump in, I
no,
think. I'm sorry.
I want you to.
Often we do forget that we have those tools when we need them. Like if you figured out when you're balanced, you're riding along, you've got like a meditation practice, you do a little walking, you do a little gratitude practice, and there's this one friend you talk to every other day. When you get stressed out, all of a sudden, mysteriously, you don't feel like talking to your friend. You don't feel like going for your walk. Oh, I forgot all about my meditating. That's just natural. So having the tools doesn't mean we're always going to remember that we have the tools, but it's such an important thing. And I just also wanted to talk about that gratitude piece.
Go
That
for
is
it.
a big one and a tough one because I mean, in this political climate, especially people who stay in the news and are very reactive to news, even say something like an executive order, which is not a law and which might just be struck down by the courts, especially no matter if it's the more bizarre it is, that stress makes it hard to feel gratitude, right? So that's why a gratitude
And
practice is,
gratitude is the antidote for stress. And stress
yeah,
makes it hard to feel gratitude. So if you take the conscious, if you know this is how I can feel gratitude, I will move my body, and I will dance to this music. I will do yoga. I will do martial arts. And while I'm doing it, I will think of the things that I would miss if I lost them. And
that
I will
really,
feel gratitude for them now.
yeah, that really, really hits home because in some ways, my emotions were so strong about having lost the use of my office that it wasn't until I moved back in that I realized, oh my God, I had all of this. I had all of this, and I just took it for granted every day that I could close the door, that I just all that. So it's hard to look at
Ah,
the everyday with fresh eyes. It's hard to
don't
look
it
at
always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone?
a talkie at a concert, y'all. Look at this, all
You
for
know, it's
free.
the day Paradise put up a parking lot. It's that these are truths that that if you can find gratitude for what you have, it's easier to develop faith in what will come. And faith is what enables you to get up when you've been knocked down and you feel like you have nothing left. So we're talking very specific, hardcore, practical skills here. And the magic formula has much. But remember, the M in the magic formula is asking you to go out and find a model, that map will be something different from the magic formula. And so it's asking you to use kind of magic formula and then this other thing. I just thought that it would be useful to talk about some of the things that are not in the magic formula that are still very, very, very useful. One of them, I think the first one, I'm going to talk about three of them. The first one is networking. It's not specifically in the magic formula, although if you take a look at the hero's journey, you can see the road of trials and allies and powers. That notion being that if you want to make money, it's going to be based on two things. One, getting much, much better at what you're doing, the product or service that you're creating. And the other is networking, finding out more about people. That's marketing and communicating with them, is sales. This sales is a lot easier than finding your soulmate. But we did a soulmate class and we looked at something that I think that one out of every 6,000 people, maybe, could be a potential soulmate. The average person knows 600 people. So you know 600 people, and each of those 600 people knows 600 people. So every time, and the other thing I noticed was of the people who found soulmates, they hadn't dated more than about 10 people. They hadn't dated hundreds of people. It's about 10, maybe 20. Somewhere in there, those numbers crunch to if you're nice to the people that you know, even if you're not suitable for them, one of the people in your circle knows the person you're looking for. Because 600 times 600 is what? 36? Is that 360,000? That's a lot of people. If every 6,000 people is a potential soulmate, that's, how many potential soulmates is that? The same thing is true with sales. The same thing is true with finding mentors. That networking is a matter of constantly expanding your network. For a writer, for instance, this would mean meeting other writers, meeting writers on a higher level than you, meeting editors and publishers so that you can begin to understand what they're looking for. And you're playing that game. The game, we talked about this in terms of teaching science fiction as opposed to writing it. If all you want to do is appreciate a puppet show, just get a seat in the front row, and it's great. But if you want to be a puppeteer, you need to be behind the stage. You need to see the strings. You need to be willing to not let yourself be not let yourself grow immune to the magic of puppetry, because you go from pretending that there are no strings to appreciating the artistry of the person who's pulling the strings. And that is a magic all its own. I love stage magic. because if you don't know what it is, it looks like magic. But once you know how much work people put into it, that's real magic. That magic, in other words, is focus over time. The secret to magic is to put more time into doing something than any sane person would do. It's like that in so many arenas of excellence. The person who is better at it than you, stop saying that they're talented or lucky. No, they've probably worked more at it than you have, especially worked more at it under a mentor. And that's part of your networking, isn't it? Finding the right people. I needed people in two different arenas of my life because I did not have my father in the home, and I knew no writers, especially science fiction writers. I knew no writers. I knew nobody who'd made a living at that. I needed to find someone who made a living doing the thing I wanted to do. And I also needed someone to show me how to be a man, quite frankly, in that specific male thing that I wanted to be admired by the men I admired and desired by the women I desired. With the writing, I had to earn my way in by doing a lot of writing. I managed to publish a couple different things, but I was writing consistently. I was working on it. I was studying the field. And when I approached writer after writer after writer, and I won't mention their names, but those big writers I've talked about that I know, yeah, those. And none of them were interested in mentoring me. Larry Niven was the first person who said yes. And I'm blessed that that has worked out the way it has because he is astounding. He's been an astounding friend. Steve Muhammad, I had to earn my way in by paying him for lessons. After I had been there for years and after he'd known me for years, there was a personal connection. But at first, I'm just another white belt in the back of his class. I had to prove myself. I had to pay. What I wanted to do was to get as close to him as possible. So in both cases, in one case, I earned my way in the other case, I paid my way in. But one way or the other, I was going to find the people who could help me. That's networking. What is it that I'm trying to create in my life? What kind of behaviors do the people who accomplish this sort of thing do? What kind of person can do those behaviors continuously over time? Is that person a good person? Do they do this within the three gates? Are they good, moral, decent people? If they are, then I can set out to be that person without worrying that I'm going to turn into something less than ethical. The three centers, belly, brain, heart center, head center, in many ways are to protect you from your actions. Because operating in balance, it's much harder to hurt yourself. But the three gates protect other people from your actions. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? And the usefulness of the three gates is that when you're under stress, it's really hard. It's really hard. It can be so much easier to lie or cheat. It can be so tempting to be cruel. It can be so tempting to not evaluate the usefulness of your actions. Did you do it? Did it work? Did it help? Over the last year, did I do it? Did it help? Where am I? What are my finances like? What is my body like? What are my relationships like? Looking at that stuff is so hard, it can destroy someone. It will destroy the egos of people who've been going in the wrong direction. It won't destroy them, but it can destroy their ego. And unfortunately, your ego thinks it's you. And if you are far enough off the path, your ego will damage you to get you to stop looking at the thing that it's afraid of. And when you talk about things like willful ignorance, I suspect that this is what's going on. That piece of information, that perspective, would change you in a way that you don't want to be changed. And you often feel like if I do this thing, I will be at greater risk. I will have more pain in my life. So the three gates are really important because in my up times, in my times of greatest clarity, I look at the three gates and I see manifestations of them in the teaching of every great person I have ever cared about. It's always there. And they say it's difficult, but it is worth it. And I cannot think of a single legal ethical goal that cannot be reached while staying within the is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? And furthermore, I've kept track of the people who mocked the three gates. None of them seem to be moving forward in their lives. They are chasing their tails, not not engaging with the question, what is the best person I can be? They're answering some other question. Be careful. Look to clarify what it is you want to achieve. Find people who have accomplished these things while staying good people. They escape suffering, they embrace joy, and they're of service to their community. They're not making a lot of money at somebody else's expense and forgetting about where they came from. Nor are they mocking people who have not achieved. They're helping. They're leaving trails of breadcrumbs. God knows this is what Tananarive and I try to do. That we try to have these pores, these times when we can talk about the things that are really concerning us, and we do it for free. Because we do it for free, and because we often have a sliding scale for our classes, we ain't shy at all about selling. We love selling. I love money. But what I really love doing even more is sharing. So that networking thing to look for the tribe that needs what you have, to determine what it is you can offer them that is of value. If you had total confidence that what you had would heal someone, you would have no hesitation about insisting that they take it. If you have a problem with sales and marketing, it's because you don't really believe. So, what I would love to do now is to, maybe I won't go on to the other two things. Maybe I'll do those next week. But I would love to open up a Q&A for people who have any questions about what I've said or what Tananarive and I represent to you. Questions about any aspect of your lives. This is the time for you to raise your hands and let's see who we can help today. As we often say, volunteer or you will be voluntold. T, were you about to say something? No.
Just waiting.
Just waiting. Okay, so let's try Jennifer Cannon.
Hey, hey,
Hello.
hey. Unfortunately, I'm having to work at the same time as I'm listening to this. So,
Uh,
I have been paying attention. I guess my first thought, this is bad to say, because you're talking about soulmates and that the people that no particular people, but my friends have not helped me in that respect. I've been set up with some people that were not good for me by my friends, so maybe I need a new friend group when it comes to something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's a very real thing that sometimes you have to create a new circle. And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to ask why you're in the circle you're in now. And if the answer is that you were settling, then you look for how would I need to improve myself to be attractive to and attract it to a circle of people who are at the level where I want. And you have to do that without thinking that you're better than other people. It's difficult. It's like, how do I say I want to improve? Right now, I feel like we're all, on the same level. And I think that I want to up my level. Am I saying I want to be better than them? That's a tough one. And you have to figure that out.
I guess that I'm just trying to be the best me, right?
That's it. That's
Yeah, I
it.
try not to be comparing myself. I'm a former marathon runner and all that, and when I realized how slow I was, it's like I can't compete with other people. Let me just be the best. Get my own personal PR and compete against myself.
So let me
But
ask you a question.
mhm.
Do you love yourself?
I will say I'm working on that, and I love myself more than I have in a long time.
Okay, so good. So it is reasonable if you love yourself, you will be attracted to some of the people who are attracted to you because we are attracted to people at our level and above, and we are attractive to people at our level and below. So if you are not attracting the kind of people you want, you got two choices. You can lower your standards or raise your game. I suggest you raise your game. I suggest that you decide, I'm going to be that bitch. I'm going to be a lioness because I want a lion. And you can't cheat that. You cannot cheat that. You have to be what it is you're trying to attract. You have to be on their same level because I can promise you, if that person is, if you're attracted to people who are successful and healthy and well balanced, they have paid a price for that. And they can only be in a relationship with someone else who can understand the price they've paid. Because otherwise, they seem like an alien. I don't know about you, but I got tired of people considering me to be alien. Why do you struggle so much, Steve? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Because I'm trying to build a life here. And if you keep finding yourself slowing down to explain while you're trying to be better, you need to get around different people. You're going to be the average of the five people you spend the most time with. So if you need to up your game, first of all, welcome here because everybody here is working to up their game. Everybody
That's
here.
why, yeah, that's why I keep showing up here.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
writers in the house?
Yeah. Tananarive is going to have to be off shortly. So Che is a writer and
Oh,
hopefully he's going to have something that's going to be dealing with that. So what you got,
okay.
Che?
What's up? What's up?
Yeah, I figured I would take that invitation for a writerly question. Last week, Steve's told a story about a peer or friend of his who was like, "Oh, I'm working on a novella," and he checked back in. Oh, it grew into a novel. Oh, it grew into a series. Oh, it grew into a
Uh,
and
I know just who you're talking about.
And that story really both shook me and resonated with me because I often do the same thing. And I know that I'm like, just kind of like, oh, if okay, well, okay, now, like, I know there's a sort of getting in my own way of like not finishing and not putting it out there. Um, and the other thing that really resonated with me was this idea that, like, if you spend 15 years working on your mega epic, then you're going to be like way more scared of having people reject it in
Devastated.
whatever way. And
mhm.
so,
Tananarive, jump into this. You know where he's going with this.
yeah,
Let's. I
well,
know
Well,
you
I
have
don't
something to
know.
say.
I
Yeah.
don't know
well,
exactly where
so
he's going
the
with it.
so what the nugget of wisdom that came last week was like, oh, start smaller, like write shorts, like et cetera, et cetera. And I was sort of wondering, like, I've spent a lot of time studying screenwriting and, like even teaching screenwriting and writing. Um, I don't really know anything about the mechanics of uh, like a short story.
Oh, this
You
is
know what I
okay.
mean? So like are there structures that are similar to like the three act structure or the, like is there some sort of scaffolding that I might be able to sort of hang my short ideas on?
I love that question. Before I talk about like whether there's a specific structure, I would just say read a lot of short stories. So whatever you're into, you can find an anthology of either best of the year, or here's some indigenous horror, here's some black horror, here's some, just read a lot of short stories because especially as a writer, part of the learning process is just exposing yourself to teachers who don't know they're teaching you. And you're like, oh, I see what they're doing here. And you'll see the scaffolding, you'll see the structure. But beyond that, what I like to tell my students at UCLA, who a lot of whom are not writers, but I do give them credit for writing a short story. So I think the same advice I give to people who've never written anything applies to people who've written a lot. Try to start a short story in a moment I call the oh crap moment.
Hmm.
It's a mini crisis that your protagonist is dealing with that may or may not have anything to do with the major oppositional force in the story. So if it was horror, it may have nothing to do with the monster, but we get to see them, their lives in progress, and how they respond to stress, to a smaller thing. I think it helps bring a character into clarity super fast. Because one issue that dogs short story writers, especially if you're coming from novels and longer works, is you want to pile on the backstory, right? So we're going to start with the characters sitting by the window, and we're just going to pile on everything that happened in them last week. And all they did today was stare out of the window in this scene, and that is not a dynamic scene. Okay. So, and I've had to force myself to do this. Sometimes your first 3 pages will be just notes for yourself
Mm.
that you may not even end up using in your story because you want to go back to, okay, same character, oh shit moment. Like what's like, oh, I'm late for work. It can be something small. And then from there, as quickly as possible, you're establishing character in their world and how they function in their world. And you're going to want to introduce whatever the conflict is relatively quickly, like the overarching conflict.
So, look, the most important thing is one of the things that you said there about this, and that is read short stories.
Mhm.
If you want to write short stories, read short stories. The plot, every short story contains a complete plot structure or a slice of an overall plot structure. In other words, stories that are designed for educated people, for people who have done a lot of reading and at an elevated level, will often not have a complete plot structure. They trust that you understand plot enough that they can infer. It's a little bit like if I give you a 1 degree of arc of a circle, you can draw the rest of the circle. That's what's going on an unconscious level. A story about somebody banging on a door and the party on the other side, nobody will come and open it. Like Shirley Jackson did that story, I think. It's just knocking on the door. You get no information, but it would not be difficult for you to infer a huge amount about the psychology of that person, about their lives, and about their despair and the way they react to this. You could probably make a guess which direction their life is going to go just from 2 pages of the way they're reacting emotionally to something that has no huge significance at all. So read. Every story story structure reflects how we organize our minds about life. Okay. The hero's journey could be used to describe assembling a bicycle or anything else. All stories either reflect the hero's journey, are fragments of the hero's journey, or inversions and distortions of it in order to create some effect. And a lot of award-winning art house movies are specifically deconstructions. A movie like Pulp Fiction deconstructs linear time in order to create plot points. It's really fascinating once you realize that this scene actually took place before this scene in the timeline, and because you didn't know that, there was artificial tension generated. Every time you read a story, try to read it once for the fun of it, then read it a second time to figure out how they did it. And if you really want to get it, write it out. Write out the story. There's an entire system of writing that I find kind of interesting, where for 15 to 30 minutes a day, you are writing out story. Writing out somebody else's writing. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
And
Fantastic.
other folks are saying it's helping them too. So that's what
Great.
it's all about.
Let's see if
Da,
Dejana?
Dejania? Oh, he probably said it right.
Dejanay.
Dejanay. Welcome. Hold on, let me get. Yay.
So my question or concern is I have a really hard time structuring time for myself to write. Like I have a terrible time holding myself accountable to that. And I'm sick of it.
Mm.
Good.
Well, your
Good.
first step is asking for help.
Yeah. And now the 6-step life writing process is write a sentence every day. Are you doing that?
No, not as much as I
Then,
should.
then you know the problem is all psychological. It's all emotional. It has nothing to do with your schedule. It
not
has to
time.
do with something that you aren't looking at within yourself, something emotional. And that's the good news Because if it's something external, you might have to change something external. But if it's something internal, then shifting that single thing will help you in multiple arenas of your life. And ultimately, all we can change is us. So I'm going to shut up now. Tananari,
I
why don't you
have
jump in?
a couple questions. What is that life looking like? Is it like family, kids, job, and I mean everything Steve said. I agree with 100%. But I'm just curious about what your situation is, if you don't mind sharing.
No, I don't mind. I don't have any real obligations besides going to school. I'm pursuing my PhD now.
Oh, that's
Um,
rigorous.
so that's,
Congratulations.
thank you. That's all I have going on at the moment.
Okay, well, that's a lot. And you're doing, I assume this is research and this is a drier kind of writing than the fiction you want to write.
Correct.
Okay. And it's tough. I was a journalist for 10 years, and it is tough to switch those hats. Sometimes you're so exhausted from the other writing that it can feel difficult to prick a flow state. So, in addition to just forcing yourself as often as possible to do the sentence a day, and I don't mean kicking yourself if you miss it, but noticing if you miss it. Um, Read over as those sentences build. You can start your writing day by just reading what you've already written, like for the previous few sessions, just a few pages. What have you already written? Get yourself back in the story instead of trying to just jump in cold. And the reason the sentence a day is so useful is because the story doesn't go completely cold. Like it's very different to go back to a story you haven't worked on in a month, although sometimes that's helpful if you finished it and you want to step away and look at it with fresh eyes. But if you're not working, you don't want to come back a month later and be like, oh, I barely remember what this was going to be about. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So the sentence a day is helpful as placeholder, as parachuting into focus and flow for writing, your accountability plan. Every day you do your sentence, you get a check mark. If you don't, notice. That's all, just notice. Little sting, not a big sting. Don't hate yourself. Don't miss tomorrow's writing session because you're disgusted about what happened yesterday. And yeah, that's it. And community. So keep coming to these meetings, hold yourself accountable. Know that at any point, Steve might call and say, how's it going? Or I might, and you want to be able to say, I wrote my whole story.
Yes.
At the
Okay.
very least, I wrote a sentence a day.
Yeah.
Because if you say to yourself, I'm going to write at least one sentence a day, I promise that's your way in. You have to start by saying, I can trust myself to keep my word.
Mm,
And you want to be as brutally honest about that as possible. Because if you say, I can't trust my word, I'm not honest with myself. Now you see that this is not just going to pop up in one arena. This is going to show up in your relationships. This is going to show up in the way you treat your physical body. The ability to
The way
set
you,
goals and trust yourself to do the component pieces you need to move in that direction is essential for movement in the adult world. If you are starting your PhD program, it's critical for you to know you can trust yourself to do what you say you're going to do. Do not give your promises unless you're prepared to do it. And know that this is the quality of your life. This is what you're trying to do. Okay? Does that make sense, sweetheart?
I hope that helps.
yes, it does. It resonates very deeply.
Good.
Great. And so you start with loving yourself. Because if you love yourself, then you can look at those flaws as things that are just part of being a blessed human spirit. They're just part of our experience. This is something I need to work on. What you don't do is fall into guilt, blame, and shame. Guilt, blame, and shame drop your energy. Become become an energy hunter. Look for the realizations, the actions, the people that when you have them, your energy goes up. You're looking for that. And your willingness to be honest about this says good things about you. And if you will commit to writing a sentence a day, then next week, when we have our next time we see you, all you have to do is let us be your accountability partners. If you promise you're going to do a sentence a day, then next week, raise your hand and say, this is the result I got, positive or negative. Your ego might make this difficult for you. Because if being a successful writer changes your definition of self and your ego interprets that as death, then it will try to sabotage you. So in that case, you won't be coming here. I can promise you that because we're going to call you out. We want you to succeed. We want you to be healthy and happy, to escape suffering, embrace joy, be of service. This is a time when we need all the people we can get to focus on the things you can do at a time when it seems that a lot of things are out of our control. So if you can trust yourself to write one sentence a day, guess what? You're a writer. You're a writer. You write one sentence a day, you're a writer. And that part of you that feels like, oh God, I'm not being true to yourself, shut that part of you up. If you can do a sentence a day, you're a writer, you're engaging with the same obstacles and emotions that all of us deal with. You can read any writer's story and they'll talk about their struggles. That's the thing. The greatest writers you can think of struggled with it. So this is part of the struggle. So I'll just ask directly, are you a writer?
Yes, I am.
There you go. Will you commit to writing one sentence a day?
It's hard for me to say, but I want to commit to that. Yes.
Okay, so and understand that committing to it does not mean you're going to be perfect at it. It doesn't mean that at all. It means that we are now tracking what's going on. So you can start looking at what stops you. Okay, this is not about guilt, blame, and shame. It's about data, performing the experiment so you can see the results of the experiment. So you can have a hypothesis about what it is that allows you to be the person you want to be, that you are committed to being in the world. Real world, not running around inside your head. So be sure that your beliefs about this are that if you are giving it your best shot, you're doing the work. And if you keep giving it your best shot, that you're doing the best you can with the resources you have. What we're doing is giving you new resources. That's all. All of us are doing the best we can with the resources we have. And finding new resources is, that's allies and powers on the hero's journey. You're on a journey gaining allies and powers. You're going to confront evil and be defeated. The way through the defeat is the dark night of the soul. The way through that is to have faith either in yourself and your potential, your companions, meaning your teachers and people like us, or that you are in alignment with the universe, a higher power, God or the universe or nature, whatever you want to say. I believe that any goal we can hold in our heart continuously over time, we have the ability to bring into existence. I believe that to be true. That's a belief that I start with. Is it true? I've tested it. It seems to be true, but I can't claim it's a fact. It's a faith-based belief. I would suggest that you have that belief, that you believe that your attitude is, I don't know how to do this yet. I've never done this, but I'll learn. That you have that part of you that believes you can learn anything you need to fulfill yourself in this lifetime, and that God or the universe, however you want to put it, did not cheat you, did not give you a desire that you had no way to bring into existence. You might decide that your priorities are different, that you don't want this thing, but if you want this thing, and I believe that you would not have mentioned this if you did not really want this thing, then let's make it happen. Let's get you published. This is something that we can do. We can get people to being published. That 6-step process is all about that. I can't guarantee you're going to be able to make a living at it. We'd have to bring in other patterns like Think and Grow Rich and so forth. And even then, there are an awful lot of really fine writers who work second jobs or are married to someone who brings in the steady paycheck, so that you have a steady paycheck and intermittently big chunks of cash drop in. That seems to work very, very well. The person who can pay all their bills just off their writing, they're not unicorns, but they're kind of rare. And you can study them And if you're willing to study how did they get there, you can learn a lot of really useful things. That's exactly what I did. That's what Tananarive did. But you'll notice that one of the things that we have done is we have diversified our income stream. We do not trust any single thing, not just books, not just Hollywood, not just writing, but there are other things that we do too. Because the point is to live a life of comfort and grace, to be able to feel gratitude about the life. Every morning you wake up and think, what a wonderful life I have here. There is work to be done. There are problems to be solved. But thank you for another day. Thank you for this life I have. To be able to feel that when you start makes it possible to visualize the life of your dreams, and then ask yourself, what would you have to induce, to bring forth from yourself, to get as close to that as possible. And then if you do that, then every step you take towards that goal is a victory. You don't know if you'll get there or not, but the trip, the journey, and the people you'll meet along the way, fantastic, wonderful. You set it up so that you start your day with the positive emotions that most people think they have to accomplish something that day to get. No, start with gratitude. Start with a sense of wonder, and then go out into the world and make magic. Dejane, thank you very much for sharing with us. This has
Thank
been
you.
valuable.
I
Okay.
appreciate it.
You bet. So let's see who's next. Let's see who's next. Bum, 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 bum. Otis hasn't been here for a couple weeks.
Just got it unmuted. Hey, what's happening?
Hey there. So talk to us. What's going on?
Talk to us. What's going on? I'm I'm just I've been published in a couple places, like smaller stuff, and I'm just getting a massive taste for it, and I want to push on. And I see, like, I don't know, I'm just reading a lot of stuff in the sci-fi section, knowing that I can do that, or I can do that eventually, and I'm just ready to take my shot, man. That's how I feel.
Tell
Like,
me what it would look like. Tell me what taking your shot would look like.
in this case, I think taking my shot looks like securing some kind of book deal. But as to what that looks like, I'm not really sure yet.
All right. How many stories have you sold?
About, let me see, one, two, three, four, uh, about six.
Okay, so if they were averaging about 5,000 words, then 6 times 5 is 30. So you've
Yep.
sold 30,000 words worth of story. I
Yep.
would suggest that your next story should be a novella or novelette, a longer
Hmm.
piece. Okay. In other words, so you work your way up from writing short stories. 30,000 words of short stories puts you in a position to maybe write a 30,000 word novella.
I guess
Okay.
it does. That's a
And
thought.
when you've done that, the 30,000 words of stories plus the 30,000 words of novella puts you within striking distance of a novel.
Yep.
So if you can write and sell a 30,000 word novella, it's reasonable for you to feel like you have the understanding, the structure, the networking, so forth, to move to that next level. Now, you don't need an agent to sell a short story, but you do need agents. Not absolutely need. It's very, very useful to have an agent to sell a novel. If you don't
Mhm.
have an agent to sell a novel, you're going to need to be very sly. It's going to require a little sideways strategy to get that done. But I my sense is that if you start with short stories and you sell enough of them, then the editors who bought your previous story, if they buy a second story from you, that editor is an ally. That
Hmm.
editor believes in you. They're willing to risk their own reputation to send you a check. That
Right.
person, that person is a very useful ally. Find out what conventions they're going to, or see if you find out if you can have a telephone call or a Zoom with them. And one of the
Hmm.
things you can say to them is, you want to move up to writing novels. Do they know of an agent that they think might be interested in talking to you?
Right.
Editors know agents. They get together all the time at every convention. Okay?
Hmm.
So what's built into the life writing structure, that write a sentence a day, write 1 to 4 short stories a month, polish and submit one a month, don't rewrite except at editorial request, read 10 times what you write, and repeat this process 100 times. There is a fantastic amount of strategy that is woven into those 6 things, including market research, the ability to sell, creating networks. It's all right there. You might be at the edge of being ready to write a book. You might be ready to write a book right now. It does
Hmm.
not hurt you to take an intermediate step, like for instance, writing a novella that if it works, you could expand it out to a novel.
Right.
There's nothing stopping you from doing that at all. Plenty of people have done it. So keep your eyes on the goal. The goal is to make a significant proportion of your income from writing, or
Hmm.
is the goal to be a full-time professional writer? That's a lot harder, but it's doable. So it's you really have to. Are you prepared? If you want that goal of being a full-time professional writer, you better be prepared to kick your own ass.
Hmm.
So, would it be better for you to pay half your bills with your writing? So what goal can you believe in?
What goal can I believe in? Um, at least paying half of them with writing is great. And there's a couple other things I want to do, like get into podcasting and stuff like that. I DJ on the side, so I believe I have a whole marketable personality. At the same time, the writing is what I love the most, and that's what I want to push the hardest.
Well, if you already have a podcast, it's entirely possible that if your primary goal is the writing, you can use some of these other things that you like to support your writing and
Hmm.
build an audience. You only need 1,000 true fans, you know.
Hmm.
And what you might find out is you have 1,000 true fans, and you're going to publish your own. Let's say that after you've learned your lessons by publishing professionally in magazines, you
Hmm.
might decide to write a book and publish it yourself in some sort of a limited edition that would enable
Hmm.
you to keep more of the money for yourself if you're willing to also be the publisher.
Right.
Um, that way, 1,000 people buying one of your books every year is actually enough to make a significant contribution to your family. I don't recommend that people publish themselves, but a person who has already proven that editors will pay them, that's a different matter. I'm mostly
They,
concerned with people who self-publish because they don't want to be rejected. I'm worried about those
right.
people. You
Right.
know, it's like the sincerest compliment is a check from a stranger that clears the bank. That I want to know that my work can communicate to people who don't like me.
Right.
They'll still buy my books, because I'm going to tell them a damn good story and they know it. Um, So you sound like you're in a good position, and that clarifying what you want would be really powerful for you. So I would love for you to create the ideal picture of what you want your life to be like in 5 years, then move back from there to how you'd like it to look a year from now or at the end of this year, and then to back up from there. So like by the end of this, you could say by the end of this year, I would have sold my first book. You don't have to have written it yet. 3 chapters and an outline will do that if people believe you can finish it, and if they like what you've done, they like what they
Right.
see there. Editors will take a chance on you. The right editor will. But all I'm saying is that that's a doable thing. Then that question becomes, what would you have to do every day to step into that destiny? Are you
Right.
willing? Are you willing to be that bitch? Are you willing to
Oh,
be that
yeah, oh,
person?
God damn it. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, yeah.
And you have a blessing. You have, if I remember correctly, you have a woman who supports you. who believes in you. Do you have
Absolutely.
any idea how much people without that would give to have it?
Yes.
There you go. So you can now, I hope that every single day of your life, you immerse yourself in gratitude for the fact that your heart is held safe in the hands of someone who actually loves you. That is a pearl beyond price. And you can use the gratitude for that to develop the faith and also to motivate you because you want her to be proud of you.
Absolutely.
You want to show off from her. You want to show off for her. And I promise that that first contract that you get, that first check that you get, you're going to have a very romantic dinner and a very intense dessert, if you know what I mean.
I know
That's
what you mean, sir. Yep.
that's just the
Hey,
way these things go.
to go on, I picked something out of what you said a couple seconds ago. Um, yeah, I guess that's enough to get attention. I can do like a 30,000 word novella and an outline for expansion, and that's usually enough proof of concept. We can say
No,
like
what
it's good or
I would say, well, actually, maybe. So the 30,000 word novella is for you. It's to be sure that you can expand what you're doing into a saleable form. Once you
right,
have published and been paid for 60,000 words of writing, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that you could do a book. Now you might be able to get an editor to give you a contract based on that. But basically what the most usual suggestion is 3 chapters in an outline. Once
right,
you have done that 30,000 word novella, you can that novella might take place in the middle of your book
right,
or at the end of the book, or it might be a condensation of a book, because you're going to twine one character with the way two other characters are experiencing the exact same event. One story about somebody escaping from a burning building, and you stay very close to him, is not the same as a story about 3 different people caught in that fire, and you're dealing with their families and their history and their interactions. Now you've got a book. So you might need to go back and restructure it the way you would do it as a book.
right.
3 chapters outline. But in order to prove to yourself that you are taking the steps necessary to get there, go from white belt to yellow belt to green belt to brown belt to purple belt, purple belt to green belt to brown belt to
Hmm.
black belt. You don't get into the black belt sparring class unless you are a genius or you like pain. But you can work your way up. Oh, yeah, you can definitely work your way up. And that's what I suggest to people. So you're in
Hmm.
position right now where you could take that leap. And so I want you to make your plan, bro.
All
Write it
right.
out. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go for it. I'm going to kick ass this year. And all that fear that's out there in the world, if you're feeling it yourself, use that fear to motivate yourself to action, understanding that skills that exist on a saleable level, at professional level, and money are probably the best protection your family has.
Hmm.
Okay?
Yeah,
All right.
good. Yep.
Good going. Anything else?
Nothing much. I'm gonna try to get out to Upland tomorrow, so we'll see.
Oh, well, make sure. Did I give you the? Do you have the address?
Um, you know what? It's probably in the files from last time, but yeah, I guess you're
Not
right
necessarily. No, it's in a
on
new
that.
place.
Oh
You
no,
need to
yeah, I'll need that.
you need to send me an email
Yeah.
asking for the address. I've
Okay.
I told people that, and there are people who are not going to be there because they forgot to do it. So that we still have room for live attendees at the workshop tomorrow if you're close to Upland, but you need to both register for it and let us know that you want to attend live. All right?
Okay, I'll
So
be
you do
emailing
that.
you shortly. Yeah.
All right, you take care.
All right, fantastic.
Woo! All right. So, who else wants to Angela Dalton. Hello, Angela Dalton.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm
Or
good.
aren't you just a cutie pie? What can we do for you today?
I was just coming to watch and sit in and listen and observe. I had I had the honor of seeing Tananarive last week in Oakland for
Isn't
her.
she amazing?
She was so amazing.
Yeah, and
Her
what I will tell you
keynote.
about, look, what I will tell you about her is that's, whereas that is a clarified expression of her, that really is the way she is.
She
She's
amazing.
not kidding. Yeah, yeah.
She was
She's not
amazing.
kidding. She is amazing, and she was created by her mom and dad. You know,
Yeah.
they did an amazing job, and she is an amazing woman. And what can we do for you?
Um, I just really love having the community here.
Oh,
I I'm not, I mean, everything does not feel great right now. And so to be in community with like-minded people just feels really good. Um,
so what I want to know is what is your morning ritual to protect your heart and to get yourself in the right energetic space to have a kick-ass day.
to have a kick-ass day.
A kick-ass day.
I've stopped scrolling, doom scrolling.
Excellent.
Don't start my day
What have
doom
you
scrolling.
replaced it with?
I've started with Headway. I don't know if you're familiar with Headway. It's an app that like condenses books into 15-minute chunks and it gives
Oh,
you like a
like
summary.
books on learning things and
Mhm.
positive. Great. That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. The only thing I might ask is you might get an app that will read that to you, like Speechify. Okay.
Okay.
And then
Well, that's what it is.
exercise.
It reads it to
Okay,
you,
great.
but it's
Great.
like
Now
summary.
now exercise while you're doing that.
Oh, extra. Okay. Well,
Because no, because fear is a physical response. You
yeah.
cannot deal with physical things just by thinking about it. You can't feed your body by thinking about a lamb chop. You
Yeah.
have to eat the lamb chop, okay?
Yeah.
So fear is touching your physical survival drive. It is a message to take an action, to run or fight, primarily. And other people say, well, what about freezing? What about this? What about that? Let's just look at it as run or fight. Deciding to become a victim is not an option for you.
No.
Okay. And as you're an adult, freezing doesn't work anymore. Not in this world. So what you can do is the more fear you feel, the more action you take, the less you'll feel the fear because you can't take action and have a negative emotion if you're using that emotion to feed the action. If you are taking an action that you have calculatedly decided will deal with the problem, if you can succeed at it, now you're both escaping suffering and you're doing things to embrace joy. Okay. Now, I believe that money is a great one here. It of all the things, aim at doubling your income, aim at doubling your physical energy, and doubling the amount that you love yourself and have confidence in yourself. You are adorable. You need to have a sense that you're acting to protect the little girl you were, that you step into being your own mommy in that sense. And a lot of people cannot think about being a fighter until they can visualize fighting to protect someone else. So I'm going to guess that you might have a little bit of that because you project sweetness. Okay?
Mhm.
You project sweetness and you need strength to protect that sweetness or it will attract predators who will try to take advantage of it. Oh, you're nodding. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I was gonna say, well,
So,
it's taken me a long time to get to sweetness. So I
okay.
already know
Okay.
the other side, and I've had to do the work to get to the softness
Well,
and the,
that's great. So you're good at being tough.
oh yeah.
Excellent. 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 See, no,
But I'm
that's
trying to
good.
hold on to the sweetness because the fear can easily make me revert back to,
Okay. But the thing is that's natural. You have to be capable. You have to be in touch with the fact that you're also a bitch with fangs. See, if you know you're a bitch with fangs, you can afford to be sweet because I mean that totally. I mean that totally. That being sweet and being able to be nice and open has to be based on the knowledge that you can protect yourself and you will. Oh yes. You will. That when somebody is yelling at you, instead of getting scared, you're looking at their throat. You're thinking about the fact there's a letter opener on the desk right there. If they ever jumped across that desk at me because they're screaming at me, I would take that letter opener and I would end them. That when you think about that, you can step back from the fear. Now you're listening to it. They're very angry. Why are they angry? Because, oh, they must be afraid about something. Why are they afraid? They're afraid that I'm not doing the job right, and they're going to lose their job. They're afraid they're losing control in their life, and they're projecting. Whatever it is.
Mhm.
But your job is to keep Angela safe. To keep, and how old are you, dear?
52.
52. You're very well preserved. That's really great. You remind me of my daughter. Okay? You remind me of my daughter. So my attitude is that my daughter, my baby girl, has absolute right to be 100% safe in this world. And the world is not a safe place. So she can't ask the world to be nice. What she can do is be the baddest bitch in the valley. And if you push her, that part comes out. So if you already have that, great. What you need to do is the sweetness is the little girl inside you. And that little girl can afford to be sweet if her mother is strong. So getting in touch with your strength is allowing yourself to be sweet. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I guess I worry that the pendulum will swing too far.
Well, it does swing. It does
Yeah.
swing. You're worried it'll swing too far, and what? That people will be repelled by you?
Um, that
Scared of
I'll
you?
hurt the wrong people.
You'll hurt the wrong people.
Yeah.
That is, so you're still dealing with fear.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the process of working on the fear, asking what exactly am I afraid of? What would I need to be in order to know that I could deal with that if it happens? What's the worst case scenario? Can I deal with the worst case scenario? If you can deal with the worst, you can deal with it. I would love for you to, in your next meditation session, have a conversation with the little girl inside you until you maybe get a picture of yourself as a girl, and to look at her and realize that she's absolutely adorable and all that she has done to become the woman that you are. That every one of those stages you were doing the best you could. Absolutely the best you could. And that little girl wants to hear from you. Am I a good girl, Mom? Have I done good? I did the best I could. And if you can love her, if you can love her with the last drop of your heart, she will give you all the love and creativity and energy you could want. But you must love her enough that she knows that you will absolutely go down fighting for her. The instant that happens, she will relax. Because they don't, that part of us, our kids don't care if we win as much as they care that we'll fight.
Yeah.
Okay? We are your allies in this. We love seeing you. Come back, bring your story, let us know how you're doing, and let us help you. Okay? I believe in love. I adore my wife. I believe in fitness and health, and I believe in success. If any of those things are on your menu, come and sit at my table.
You know I will. You know I will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
Wait, can
So,
I share one more thing with you? Just
yeah.
really quick. I finished my TV pilot also, by the way.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So I really appreciate it because I took your TV pilot, the TV pilot class. So
Fantastic.
it was
Well,
great.
continue on. I hope that people who are interested in writing will consider coming to the science fiction workshop that we're doing tomorrow. You can find out about that at writerwebinar.com, www.writerwebinar.com. Would you please unmute yourselves and everybody say goodbye?
Thank
Goodbye,
you, everyone.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.
everybody.
Have a
Bye,
blessed
y'all.
day.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye,
All
everyone.
right.
Farewell.
And-
Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
did you see that there was a reunion there was a reunion between Julie Andrews and the kids that played the people who played her kids in Sound of Music.
Oh,
It was wonderful. They were on stage together at some big event for her 90th birthday or something like that. It
Uh,
was just wonderful. Anyway, I would like to close today with the Sanskrit expression that means that the divinity within me salutes and acknowledges the divinity within each and every one of you. Namaste.
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 We'll see you next week.
Namaste, Sensei.
Bye,
Okay,
everybody.
bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.